During today's show, we're going to discuss kids' travel sports and competitive dance and whether it is worth it or not. Hi there. Welcome to Money Talks. My name is Ken Wink with Summit Financial Consulting. If you hear something during the show today that you like, be sure to go to our website, summitfc.net, and go to the podcast page. And you can see our past shows, and you can also subscribe to the podcast on Amazon Music or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So if you have had a kid, odds are you think they're pretty great. I mean, it's a little you. So letting them shine on the stage or on the field can be pretty cool. But there are positives and negatives to having your kids participate in travel sports or competitive dance. So before we jump into this topic, just want to introduce my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, did your kids play any travel sports? Did you get roped
Oh
in at
yeah.
all?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mostly we didn't have a lot of athletes in our family. So there wasn't a ton of travel sports, but my son did play travel soccer for a while, as did my middle daughter. And all three of my kids played soccer, and two of the three were pretty big into up in Minnesota, where I'm from, cross country skiing or Nordic skiing. My
Okay.
wife was a big Nordic skier. Where we live, Stillwater, Minnesota, is actually the home to the USA gold medal champion cross country skier, Jessie Diggins. And she
Oh,
actually, same coaches as my wife, my kids, they're all still there. It's a huge program. It's one of the
wow.
biggest schools for Nordic skiing in the country. So it's churned out some Olympians and the gold medal winner for Nordic skiing for the USA. So
What
that
is Nordic skiing? Is it like cross country
it's cross
skiing?
country skiing. It's just
Okay.
another word for cross country. For some reason, when I was a kid, it was downhill and cross country skiing, right?
Yep. Yep.
And now it's alpine and Nordic. Alpine
Hmm.
is downhill skiing and Nordic is cross country. I don't know why they call them that. They have for a number of years now, and I don't know why. So don't ask me that. But everyone in my family cross country skis except me, basically.
Okay.
I gave it the old college try, but that's just a lot of work for a little effort. But yes, so I have experienced this with my children. Never did the dance thing. When my first daughter was really young, she wanted to try dance and did it for just briefly when she was young and then out. It was not for her. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what my daughter did too. Yeah, we almost didn't want to do this show. We did a blog post on this a while back, and I just thought we were going to get so much negative feedback that people were going to be really mad at us. But we decided to press on, Tony. It's an important conversation to have, and just so you know, I'm not talking about spending $100 on the local rec center league. We're talking about these travel leagues where you're going places, you're spending thousands of
Thousands of
dollars,
dollars.
yeah, if
Yeah.
not tens of thousands of dollars on travel baseball or travel soccer or travel football.
Lacrosse is a big one that's become popular, especially at least in our area, and it is really expensive. And of course, in our area in Minnesota, hockey is a big one, and it's so expensive. Our kids were never into hockey, thank God, because so many people I know have traveling hockey, and the amount of money they spend on traveling sports for their kids and time, it's all consuming. It's all consuming. I mean, I know some hockey parents that are good friends of ours, and they can never ever do anything on any weekend because of traveling sports and hockey typically, and even during the week. And they use all their vacation time for their kids' traveling sports. So
Yep, cheerleading. I mean, pretty much every sport there's a version of it. And I have a friend that owns a company that sets up the tournaments for these things, and they're just printing money because everybody pays to come out to these things, and then
oh yeah.
they give them a $75 trophy, and they just sort of pocket the rest of the money other than paying for the venue,
Yep.
rental fee. So there's a lot of money revolving this kind of stuff. So good to get into it. And I mean, I'm a parent. I've got kids. I get it. It's great when my kids get recognition or they're doing something sort of cool. Um, but there's a cost, and I think a lot of people don't just take a step back and look at it.
Yeah. So let's go over some of the negatives and some positives. But what are some of the concerns? Why did you bring up this topic in the first place, Ken? Why is this a concern? Obviously, the cost of time and money. But what in particular do people need to think about here?
The biggest, so I'm nervous we're going to lose listeners as we as we go through the show
Sure.
today. So I
Sure.
sort of want to start with like the biggest thing, and that's just that if you are not already saving a ton of money for college, there's a really good chance that your kid may not be able to buy a house after they graduate from college. And a lot of people don't put these two dots together. But if you're choosing not to save for their college and to instead spend all this money on travel sports, then if they go to college, not everybody does, but if they do, they're most likely going to have very, very heavy student loan payments, and that may prevent them from buying a house someday or have enough money. It could cripple them in some cases. So if you love your child or your grandchild, crunch the numbers on education before you commit to all these sports. And it goes to for retirement too. We've got tons of people that are not saving for retirement, or they're not saving enough for retirement, but they're coming up with all this money for the travel sports, whatever the sport may be.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
people may have to work another 5 or 10 years just because they're playing
Hmm.
sports for a few years. So
Hmm.
you got to think long term when you're signing up for this stuff.
Sure, sure. And so, and on one side, to play devil's advocate, I agree with you, and I think for the majority of kids, it may not be the wisest thing to really get heavily into these travel sports that are so competitive, so expensive. You spend so much money on it, especially if you can't afford other things because of it, like saving for college. Paying for college should be a priority for your kids over travel sports. I agree with you 100%. And I think that's a great point. However, I think the people listening out there, here's what they're going to say. Oh, but Ken, if I push them hard and they are in travel sports, they're more likely to get a scholarship, and that will save tons of money on college. And I imagine your response to that would be the same as mine, because I've heard this. I've been in this debate with people before, and I hear that, oh, well, my kids are going to get a scholarship, and so travel sports is actually helping with the cost of college. If you look up the statistics on how many people get a decent sports scholarship, out of all the hundreds of kids in your there's 100 kids in your traveling soccer league, hundreds of them. How many of those kids are actually going to be good enough to get sports scholarship? It's a very small percentage. And that percentage goes down as they go up. A lot of people have a vision for their children to become professional athletes and make a lot of money. The problem with that is you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and you as a
Yep.
financial advisor, Ken, don't like that. And you would recommend people don't do that because of the high risk, right?
Well, we've got thousands of families that we take care of here
Yeah.
in our office, and I had one daughter that was playing ice hockey, so women's ice hockey,
Yep. Women's
and
hockey.
she went to a super small school out east for 2 years and then got sick of it. But the out of school tuition was so high, even though there was a scholarship that brought it down to being slightly more expensive than what a Michigan school would have been. So
Sure.
there's an experience there. I get it, but it didn't financially, it didn't work out. And then I've got
Yeah.
another client whose son is one of the top 5 swimmers in his state, and he's gotten some offers, and the best offer is currently being offered by the University of Tennessee. And same kind of thing. It's a $15,000 scholarship per year, but because he's an out of state student, the cost of being out of state is $15,000. So it's basically a wash,
Yeah. Yeah.
not a true scholarship in the sense of
No.
that it's like a free ride or something like that. But we
Yeah.
haven't had a single, full ride all 4 years to like a Big Ten school, or even I don't want to call these, lower rated schools, but maybe a school you wouldn't have picked if it wasn't for the sports,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, I'm fortunate. My daughter got a full scholarship for all 4 years to St. Thomas, which is a really good private school here in the cities. And without it, it's outrageously expensive. I mean, she saved basically 44,000, 45. It's with everything, it's $65,000 a year, but her tuition is covered. So she saved $44,000 a year.
Was it for Nordic skiing?
Nope, it wasn't for a sport. It was
Oh,
for it was an academic scholarship. It was because there was a grant and a scholarship for excellent achievers in certain areas, and she had to write all these essays and take all these tests and do interviews, and they narrowed it down from 200 people to 5. I think they accept 5 or so a year, and
wow.
she made it. So we're really proud of her, and that's great. She didn't have to do sports to get that. But I also know somebody who did get a pretty good scholarship, not a full ride, because of sports, but rare. I know one person out of all the parents and kids I know who got some type of scholarship from sports. So that argument is interesting. I know the big one. My wife and I are big believers in extracurricular activities for children. I think
Absolutely.
kids who are involved in things like band, choir, sports, um, 4-H, Cub Scouts, they all do. Studies show they all do better. It's better for your children if they're involved in these things and group activities where they learn to be part of a team. I think it's fantastic. But what we're talking about here is the hardcore, year round,
Yep.
working on your dance or hockey or baseball, whatever it is, traveling basketball, the hardcore, very expensive traveling sports, right? That's the difference, right?
Right. Yeah. And congratulations to your daughter. So that's like an example of a real scholarship, right? Like she
Yeah.
saved some serious money and it happened to be economic. And we definitely have a lot more clients that have gotten academic scholarships.
Well, sure.
I'd say those
And
are much more
And
common.
most people, if you get decent grades, can get some type of academic scholarship. That's pretty common because the costs are so high to bring it down a bit. But we were floored because she wanted to go there, and it's like, well, with everything, it's $65,000 a year with no scholarship, and everybody gets some type of academic scholarship if you have good enough grades to get in. So that's going to knock it down 10, 15,000, but it's still out of our price range. We don't have enough money. So no, she on her own, when we told her, no, you can't go to St. Thomas, she went on her own and found this GHR fellowship scholarship and applied for it and did the work. And it was a lot of work. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So who takes credit? So she sounds pretty smart. Is the which side is the apple not falling too far from the tree? Is that you or your wife?
Neither. My wife and I can't figure out why. She's like genius level, and she's gets straight A's, and we don't. It comes from her. The one word everyone uses who meets my daughter Allison, the one word everyone who knows her says driven.
Oh
She's
wow.
driven. Here's a
Oh,
great little story, and then I'll let you get on about how driven she is. My wife and I moved our bedroom down to the basement and let our teenage son, have the master upstairs, and we used our basement living area, turned that into our bedroom for a while. And we had the printer. We had my desk down there too, and the printer was down there. And Allison was maybe 3.5 or 4, I guess 5, right in there. And it's 6 a.m. on a Saturday, or 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and we're
early.
dead asleep trying to sleep in. And all of a sudden we hear the printer, and we're like, why is the printer going? And then it stops, and we're like, whew, we fall back asleep. Then, and it just kept happening. Finally, I got up, and there's Allison over at the printer with a stack of sheets. And we're like, Allison, it's your day off. It's our day off. It's Saturday. What are you doing? She goes, I'm printing coloring pages from the internet. I had showed her on her little, on the laptop upstairs on her little table, how to find and print Google for coloring
Man, oh,
pages,
man.
and she was printing coloring pages, and Sarah's like, "Why are you up so early on a Saturday? You don't have school today." And she goes, "I wanted to make the most of it."
Oh my gosh.
And this is at
Holy
3 or
cow.
4, and her attitude never that just increased as she got older. It's like,
Holy cow. I wanna make the most of it.
I wanna make the most of it.
That is
Can you
awesome.
imagine a 3 and 4-year-old telling you she
Yeah.
wants to make the most of it, so
You
she's
could
up
teach us
early?
all a little something.
And we're looking at each other. She gets that what side does that apple fall from? Neither. Actually, our moms sides on both sides. My mom is very smart and did well in school. So did Sarah's mom. And my mom was a CPA and Sarah's mom was a teacher.
Oh,
So
okay.
probably,
That's probably it.
yeah, but it must skip a generation is all we can figure.
Yeah.
Sarah and I are like, yeah.
My mom's self-described horrible at math, but my grandma Charlotte, she lived in the UP of Michigan and was a cashier and basically didn't even need like a calculator. She was just so sharp with math. So,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
me and my bro are doing okay in the
Yeah.
math department from
One of my
Grandma
Yeah,
Char.
one of my best friends, my best man at my wedding, you can throw, and we used to do this years ago, and he hated it because he felt awkward, but you could give him 2 3-digit numbers, just randomly make them up, and he can multiply. He would instant like all
No
you have to
kid.
do is say. So he was a little bit like Rain Man kind of a
Yeah.
thing,
Get this side
right?
of Vegas. Got it.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, and actually we did. We were all in our 20s when we were working together, and we lived in, this is Southern California. We would drive to Vegas on Friday, and this is before they changed it with the decks so you could this
Yeah.
is the late '80s, and there were still the smaller casinos, and he could, count cards, but what he can do is I would say 386 times 697, and he didn't there was no time between. He would just tell you the answer.
Oh my
So I don't know
gosh.
how he did it.
Yeah.
No one knows. It doesn't matter. You any 2 3-digit numbers and he can multiply them in his head instantly.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd
Yeah.
think you need some time to
Yeah. His
process it.
social skills when I first met him were 0, but you know what I mean?
Pumped him
It's
up.
we helped him out there. Now he's a functioning member of society.
Well, that's good.
So,
Gosh, that's wild.
yeah. So anyway, college sports or I mean high school sports. And I know a big one. We're gonna get lots of hate mail probably on this, but this dance is a rough one, and it's so huge now, right?
Yes,
It's all
yeah.
consuming for some people.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been sort of bashing it. So, like, there's some positives, exercise is good, keeping your kids
True.
fit. I feel like if you exercise when you're young and in high school, there's a good chance you're gonna keep doing that as time goes on. And, you mentioned earlier being part of a team is nice. And I feel like kids nowadays, it's like me attitude a lot. Like it just inherently um kids today for one reason or another seem like just a little bit more self-centered. So being part of a
Well,
team is good. And I think rejection's good too. Like sometimes they don't make the team, or sometimes
sure.
plenty of times the team loses. So dealing with
Yeah,
rejection and how to like work through that and stick to it, setting goals, making friends and socializing, like all the stuff we were talking about, those are all good things. And I actually saw one study that said that kids that participate in sports do better in school for some reason.
sure. It's
So like,
because of the discipline that they learn, and I think, the social adjustment, all the things you said, plus they're getting regular exercise. They're not going home right after school at 3 PM or 3:30 and sitting on the couch playing video games all through the night.
right.
They're
Yeah.
actually getting out. I think it is important. That's why I think sports are great for kids, and I think any extracurricular activity, band, sports, dance, these are good things. But the hardcore aspect, it can cross a line, and it can become too much. And the cost is crazy. It's better than just sitting playing on your iPad or your phone, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a ton of benefits. So it's, as a financial advisor, we just want to take a look at it and say, okay, this stuff is good, but is it 7 days a week and ruin your retirement and ruin their college good? Maybe we just do the rec team and don't fall into this trap, because eventually someone's going to say to them, "Wow, you're really good. Your kid's really good. Let's try out for this advanced team." And it feels like, gosh, my kid is special. But that's how they hook you in. That's how these organizers and coaches sort of make the big bucks on the event planning
Yep.
and everything. Like, it is a trap to take as much money from
Sure.
you as possible, because
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
is.
people,
And
won't.
let's talk about the costs a bit. That's the bottom line, and that's why we're doing this show, is because people don't realize that they're probably not able then to contribute as much to their retirement account or to their kids' college funds because of it. So what are some of the costs? What are we talking about here, Ken?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you got registration fees, oftentimes private coaches or private lessons, or paying the coach on the team. You got equipment costs, you got travel expenses, hotels, sometimes flights, you got camps all summer. We regularly see $5,000 per year for these travel sports. And, I have a friend that's paying $15,000 a year, and he's got two daughters doing it. So he figured it all out, and he's paying $30,000 a year for competitive dance.
30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Imagine if you put 30,000 a year into a Roth IRA, or what, you can't put that much directly in, but if you could put that into different types of accounts, or even the market for your own retirement, or into that college fund, you could pay for your kids' college.
Yeah, my buddy, if he ever hears this, I don't want him to be mad at me, but like, he's doing a good job. He's mathematical. He's saving enough for college. He's setting enough aside for his own retirement. So
Sure. And maybe
he's doing
some people have the money. I mean, if
right.
you're the vice, I know a guy, or the guy I'm thinking about with hockey, he has three daughters, hardcore travel hockey. They live it, breathe it 7 days a week.
Yeah,
Besides the time factor, which I question, um, and he's a good dad. They're a good family, but he's a VP at a large corporation, a national, one of a big national company that's headquartered here in the cities. And so he's a VP. He has the money. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
He's still going to be able to send his kids to college, whether they get a scholarship or not. He's still going to be able to afford to help them get into houses. So he has the money, but other people don't. That's a rare, there's the top 1, 2, 3%. That's fine. But the majority of us is sitting here in the middle class. Even if you're upper middle class, this is real money. $30,000 a year. That's real money, even to you, Ken. That's got to be real. That's
well,
got to be real money.
we did. I did a little research on this and found a study from Ohio State. So, here, do you guys
Oh
in
yeah.
Minnesota hate Ohio State? Like in Michigan, it's sort of like, we don't.
Oh
We
yeah.
often.
Well, Ohio State. I know that people love to. Anyone who's not from Ohio loves to hate them because they are dominant. They spend a lot of money on sports. People in Ohio are into it. I do have a friend, Corey. You might even know him. That I have known for years. Who's the biggest Ohio State fan there is. He has season tickets to their football games. So I can't hate them too much. Or Corey, I got to stay on Corey's good side. But otherwise, in Minnesota, it's not. In Minnesota, Michigan is as much of a competitor to us as Ohio State. But Alabama and Ohio State are obviously, that
Different level. Yeah.
they're fun to hate because they're at the top, right?
Yep. So Ohio State did a study. So this was just on football,
Yep.
but out of all high school football athletes. So, and it's important to note that there's another study that said that kids on average only do travel sports for 3 years, and then they get burnt out.
Yep.
So, that alone, if we just take that one stat, that almost tells us the whole story, that like, yeah, it's too much. 7 days a week is too much, and it's too much travel, and all that travel takes a toll on marriages and family, and you're not seeing your cousins as much because you're just boom, 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 boom. But
Right.
anyways, most of them don't even make it to high school. But of the people that do stick it out and play high school football, 6.8% make it to college. So you got to be in the top 93% to even make it to college for football. And then, of course, making it to the pros, it's 0.023%. So it's,
Yeah.
just a fraction of a percent, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent that
Yeah.
make it to the pros. But do you know what is pretty likely? There is a decent chance your kid will go to college. There's a 70% chance that high school graduates go to college these days. So
Yeah.
it's like, are we going to
And
make
that's
our
all kids, not just kids who are into sports. So there's a 70% likelihood that your kids will go to college, and you probably want them to. So, but the percentage they'll make it to college football or to the pros are
minuscule? Yeah.
minuscule, is the exact word I was trying to find. Yeah.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, there's not a really good chance that your kid's going to get a scholarship. And if they do, it's probably going to be to a small school where there's sky high tuition or it's out of state tuition, like I was talking about earlier. So, um, I just can't get over this 3-year stat that most kids only do it for 3 years. So, maybe you're not spending as much money by only doing it for 3 years, but it just shows that it's usually not worth it. And then if what could you use this money for instead? Weddings. It's not just all college. What about your kid's going to get married someday? Probably pretty decent chance they get married someday. Do you want to help out with that? Because if it just sneaks up on you and then all of a sudden, oh gosh, now I'm not going to save for retirement because I got this wedding to pay for, or you want to pay down your own mortgage so that your retirement's better, or you want to upgrade your own house, or just have an emergency fund. It's shocking how many people don't have an emergency fund. Or maybe you want to help your kid out with their first car.
Put 30 grand a year into an emergency fund.
Yeah. Or I
Yeah.
mean, just if you think about 30 grand a year, how far that would go towards weddings, down payments on houses, emergency funds, their first cars, college, your own retirement. Like there's just so much that you're missing
Yeah.
out on by throwing tons of money at this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just people don't realize how big of a decision you're making when you decide to get into travel sports.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're making that distinction. Sports, where there's a 2 or 3 month window where they want to play sports a year, that's not terrible.
Yeah,
But
4
traveling
bucks.
sports are all consuming. As parents out there like you and I know, it can be all consuming.
I saw a note the other day about the Detroit Pistons here to have a dance team. So like, what if you're into competitive dance, like there's tons of, I would think, like psychological and physical benefits, but like if you're looking to do that as a career, like it made me sad. The Pistons dancers all make minimum wage, and
Yeah,
like
minimum wage.
possibly less than minimum wage because they have like appearances and photo shoots, and it's so it's like a star-studded thing, but it's not a career path per se.
No.
You know,
No.
so that's
Yeah.
tough.
Dance and radio. I would being a radio announcer, the percentage of people who can make a living doing radio.
It's not
Yeah,
bad.
you need more than a good voice. You need some luck too, and a whole lot of talent behind it. I'll tell you, people don't realize, like, even, oh man, our big, radio station here in town, the afternoon DJ, he's great. That afternoon DJ might be making minimum wage. The morning show guys are the only ones who probably get a decent salary, and the general manager, and maybe if he's good, the sales manager, but otherwise, no. So
We've
a
had
lot of careers are like that. People don't realize there's just no money in it.
well, TV news anchors too. We've had some
Yes.
of those as clients, and it's like, man, they're on the news every single day, and it's a lot of dedication to be there. But yeah, do not make the big bucks.
Yeah. Because everybody wants to do it. I mean, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be a radio announcer or a TV announcer? And so there's always people that want to do it. But yeah, those are desired jobs, but not high paying jobs.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's the same with sports and especially dance, but you have to be careful. I think you're brave to tackle this because people definitely have opinions, and especially when it comes to their kids. They can be all consuming, these things, can't they?
I'll let you know how many death threats and mean notes I get after this video post.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to think about the costs, and I'm glad you brought this up because a lot of parents are weighing it. You got to weigh it. You got to see where you're at, look at your situation, and to figure out whether you can do it or not, or should meet with a financial services professional who's a fiduciary, who's going to look at your big picture, and you might tell them, hey. You guys have this as income. You're saving this for retirement. You're on a good path. If you want to spend the time and money, you're able.
Yep.
But most people, do you have 6 months to a year's worth of salary saved in an emergency fund? How much do you have in each kid's college fund? How much is in your retirement fund? If those answers aren't right, probably shouldn't be spending $30,000 a year on sports for your kids, right?
No, and I mean we regularly use this example that if you just save $5,000 for 10 years, so like let's say your kid bucks the trend and they stick with it for a while, even at $5,000 for 10 years, that's $60,000-$70,000 after you throw in some investment gains that you're giving away. I mean, that could be multiple years of college,
Yeah.
better spent.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, Ken, great show today. Give that phone number and web address so our listeners can get a hold of you.
Phone number is 586-226-2100. And website is www.summitfc.net. Love to sit down with you, put together a retirement income analysis. Like Tony said, see exactly what you can afford, or at least get an idea of, if you decide to move forward with it, what kind of sacrifice will that be? Are you going to have to work an extra 2, 3, 5, 10 years? At least if you have that number in your head, you can make a little bit more of a informed decision, and just figure out, how many sports are my kids going to play? Are they going to play more than one at the same time? I've got families doing that too.
Sure.
Let's just talk about the commitment and the cost and figure out what makes the most sense for you.
There you go. Well, thank you, Ken. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Money Talks with Summit Financial and our host, Ken Wink.